Good morning, everyone. We'll just give it another couple of seconds for the latecomers, and then we'll kick this off. Okay, welcome everyone to this is our second Copilot demonstration. We did one last year, so thank you all for attending. I am welcomed today by Jess Cornwall, a Microsoft 365 trainer. She has prepared some excellent slides for us, as well as plenty of demos. So I guarantee this won't be death by PowerPoint. Welcome, Jess.
Hello, thank you. Thanks, everyone. It's lovely to meet you all. Thanks for taking some time out of your day today to learn a bit about Microsoft Copilot. Like Daniel said, my name's Jess, and we're going to be going through a demonstration today of Copilot and a little bit of Copilot agents as well. And I do have a few little PowerPoints at the start here just to explain some important things about Copilot, but then we'll move straight into the demo. If you do want to engage during the webinar, feel free to use the chat icon or the Q&A icon at the top of the screen. You can even send in reactions if you're enjoying the content. It makes me know that you guys are still listening there as well, and you're interested, which is great. And if you wanted to as well, you can also turn on closed captions or interpreter if that helps you follow along. So to do that, you can just go to the meeting taskbar, select more, and then select language and speech. And from there, you can either choose show live captions or turn on interpreter as well. Okay, so let's dive straight into what Copilot is. So it's an AI assistant, and it's built into our Microsoft 365 apps. So we're talking about the paid license today, and a lot of this is going to be focused on the paid license. So with the Copilot paid license, it is built into your Microsoft 365 apps. So that means it can work with your Word documents, it can work in Outlook, it can work in Teams with your meetings, and it helps you save time and basically helps you support your decision making a little bit better as well. Some of the things we can use Copilot for, we can use it to create and rewrite content. We can use it to summarize emails, meetings, and chats, provide some quick insights and explanations on Excel data. It can do graphs, it can do pivot tables, all sorts of fantastic things in Excel. But most importantly, it does help you stay organized across all those different apps as well. A range of roles can benefit from Copilot, but I would confidently say that anyone could use Copilot to be a bit more efficient in business. I definitely use it day to day and could not live without it. And I hope from today's demo, you can see some of those things that will give you some efficiencies as well. I guess most importantly, we all probably have dipped our toe a little bit in AI. If you haven't, that's fine as well. But if you have, the thing to know about Copilot is it is built in the best-in-class data protection and privacy. So it runs inside your secure Microsoft 365 tenant. It respects your permissions. And what I mean by that is it can only access the data that you have access to already. So if you could access, say, something on SharePoint, then you can link that into Copilot and use that as a data source as well. And most importantly, your data is never used to train public AI models, whereas other AI platforms are not as secure and they might use your data to train public AI models. It follows the same security and compliance that you are already aware of when it comes to Microsoft, and so you can use it with confidence. I think this is a really important thing to touch on. With Copilot, you need to understand how it uses AI and machine learning. So the first thing is it uses two key AI models. The first is called natural language processing. You might hear that around when it comes to AI, and it's NLP for short. Basically, it means that it understands everyday language. So you can just talk to it like I'm talking to you now. If I needed something from a colleague and I said, hey, could you go and get me that email from last week? You could ask Copilot to do the same thing. The second one, and I think this is the most important one, is machine learning, or ML. So this looks at your habits, your preferences, and the way you normally work. And then over time, it starts to recognize these patterns. It offers more suggestions that are tailored to how you work. I'll give you an example of this. So in Outlook, there is a function called auto rewrite. So if you open up a new email and you type in some text, you can highlight that text and there's a little icon that appears that looks like a pen. If you click on that pen, you have an option there that says auto rewrite. And what that does is it then rewrites what you've written in your email. I probably use this on about 90% of my emails because I just like to brain dump what I want to say, and then I use that auto rewrite to have a look at what I've said and just kind of make it sound a bit more like me. When I first started using auto rewrite, I found that it was very robotic and AI sounding, and I keep persisting. I kept rewriting the emails and letting Copilot learn off me. It just does that by naturally in the background. And one day I used the auto rewrite, and it just did it exactly as I would sound, like as I would have written it myself. So the reason that happened was because over time, Copilot learned how I like to write, and then all of a sudden it just became really good at it. The reason I like to point this out as well is if you are using other AI platforms now, you've probably used them for a while, and that machine learning has probably kicked in with those AIs as well. So when you do move over to Copilot and you start using it, you might find that it's not as efficient as what it would say be if you were using AI that already has learnt from you. So just persevere with it and you'll find that it gets better and better over time. Like I said, now I couldn't live without it. So yeah, that's why I like to talk about that machine learning. When we put the NLP and machine learning together, Copilot not only understands what you're asking it to do, but it does get better at anticipating what we might need next as well. So when it comes to Copilot licenses, there's two types of licenses. If you've got a Microsoft 365 license, then you already have access to the free version of Copilot. And if you want the full experience of Copilot, where we've talked about where it's embedded into Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, Teams, that's where you'd go and get a paid Copilot license. The other benefits as well is that the paid license does use your organizational data. So what I mean by that is we could go and say, hey, I've got a meeting with Daniel today, and can you go and have a look at the last meeting that I had with him, my chats that I've had with him in Teams, and prepare me for the meeting. And that's what the paid license can do. When you're looking at the free version, it doesn't connect to your organizational data. So it can't access your files, your emails, or your chats. You can attach things that you'd like to reference in there, like you're used to using in, say, other AI platforms. But when it comes to the paid version, it can just easily access it by just asking it to. Okay, so some prompting basics. When it comes to AI, the quality of your prompts directly shapes the quality of the results that you get. So taking the time to craft a clear prompt really makes a difference. I do find when I'm training on Copilot, a lot of the times people will come back the next week and they'll say, hey Jess, I put this prompt in and it didn't give me exactly what I wanted. And then I'll say, okay, what about if we just ask it this way, or we tweak it and give it a little bit more description, or it normally comes good and then gives them exactly what they need. So that's where I'm talking about that prompting is quite important when especially when you're starting to use Copilot and getting it to learn how you like things to be replied back to you and things like that. You can always just start with a task with Copilot, keep your wording simple and direct. Remember, you can always go back and refine it later. Some common things you might ask it to do is summarize, rewrite, explain. You can even say catch me up, like catch me up on my emails in my inbox the last 24 hours. Give that one a try. That's really, really great. People love that in training. And then if you want the best response, this is where we can come up with some prompting basics. And I would suggest using a goal. So what's the outcome that you want from asking Copilot this question? We could have a context, why we need it. There's also the source, so what's the documents we're going to look at or the supporting information that we're going to look at. So that might be emails, or it might be a Word document or some Excel data. And then what's the expectation? So what kind of tone and style do I want the response? We could even go into the depth of like how many words we want in the response, whether it's detailed or summarized and stuff like that. Depending on the prompt as well, we can also benefit by adding in a role. So like if you gave it a context, for me, for instance, I could say, as my role as a trainer, this is, and then put my prompt in. But there is this great feature in Copilot where it can save memory and you can update custom personalizations in there. And I'm going to show you that in training, so you don't necessarily have to put your role in every time. So this is an example of a good prompt here. So the first thing that we have is our goal. So write a friendly internal announcement about our upcoming Copilot for Microsoft 365 training. Here's our context, explain that it supports our organizational-wide rollout and will help everyone use Copilot effectively. Then the source, we're going to use the attached course overview and course discussion meetings as a source. And then finally our expectation. So keep it clear, concise in tone, and around 120 to 150 words. So can you see how if we had just given it this first goal, how the response that we get would be quite different to if we had taken the time to write in a full prompt? And, you know, if you don't have time to write a full prompt, there's some little tips like you can dictate, so you can turn on your microphone and just talk to Copilot, which is really handy. And if you don't have time, again, you can always refine it later as well. But I do recommend taking the time to put in a good prompt. Okay, so another thing as well is if you wanted to get an idea of how to prompt Copilot when you're starting to learn how to use it, Microsoft does have a prompt gallery that you can access. So at below the prompt gallery is some suggestions that you'll see, like suggested prompts. If you click on those, it opens up and gives you a whole bunch of examples that you can use. Then if you click on this little icon on the right-hand side, the circle with the 3 dots, that does go and open up the prompt gallery as well, which I'll show you in the demo in a second. So some tips for some crafting clear prompts. So be clear on your task, say exactly what you want, use prompting basics of goal, context, source, and expectations. This one's quite important. Just use plain language. So just speak to it the way that you would. Just keep your words direct and simple. And then only ask it one thing at a time. So you can't think of it again like a junior. We don't say to a junior, hey, go and do this, then this, then this, because they just it's too overwhelming for them. So we might say, do this first. Once it's done that process, then we'll move on to the next one. So one task at a time. It's really good to give it examples, so you can show some sample text that you might like, a style of an image that you want it to create. And then remember, we can always refine it later, so we can adjust things and ask it again if needed. Okay, so time to jump into demonstration. Done with the PowerPoint for now. So we're going to walk through some of the features that I think will be beneficial to you today. Just to let you know, this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Copilot, what we're showing you today. Normally our training is a lot longer and we delve into it a bit more. So just keep that in mind, but I am going to try to show you some things that I think will help with your daily workflow. Okay, so let's just exit out of the PowerPoint. If you do have a paid Copilot license, feel free to kind of follow along here. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the Copilot app. Now, if you don't have the Copilot app down in your taskbar like I do here, you can actually search for it just in the search bar. And if you click in there, you can type in the words Copilot. And this is the one you want to open, Microsoft 365 Copilot. It has a little black banner on it, and that's the one that we're going to use. This one here is actually the paid version, the free version. And even if you are using the free version, I do recommend using this one. It's just the better app to use. So click on that to open that up. And then if you wanted to pin it to your taskbar, you can right click and you can choose pin to taskbar. It'll be an option there. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner, I'm logged in as trainer 4, and you can see here in brackets, it says premium. That's how you can identify straight away that you are on a paid license of Copilot. If that says basic in between the brackets, that's the free version of Copilot. Okay, so we're just going to run through some things on the left-hand side here. If you can't see this navigation pane, you might need to go ahead and just click on this to collapse and open the navigation pane. So you just go like that to open or close it. And what we have here is new chat. So this is how we start a brand new chat in Copilot. I will mention to everyone that in the last couple of days, Copilot has had a facelift. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that. Daniel and I noticed that yesterday. So it does look a little bit different. So if you open it up and it looks different to what it did, say, a couple of days ago, that's the great thing about Copilot and Microsoft. They're constantly updating the app with great new features and functions. So if my app looks a little bit different to yours, you just might not be on the latest version yet, but you should have a section over here that does say chat. So when we click on the chat, we have this option here in the center, and this is where we can go ahead and write in the prompts that we want to give to Copilot. As I mentioned in the training, down here is some suggested prompts that you can click on, and this little button here does open that Copilot prompt gallery, which has now been renamed the Prompt Lab, and you can search for prompts on the left-hand side here or drill down using these little arrows here as well. I'm just going to close that by clicking on the X. So up the top here as well is a little toggle called Work IQ. Work IQ uses basically an intelligence layer where as Copilot learns how you work, it uses Work IQ to work out how it's going to respond to you and give you the best information. If you don't want to use it, you can turn it off there. And then to the right-hand side of that, we do have this little option here that says auto. If we drop down on that, that's going to say auto is how long it decides to think. So we have the option for auto, which basically Copilot says, do I need to think for a while or can I just go and give a quick response? Quick response answers it right away, and think deeper will go in think longer to give you a response. So we might use think deeper if we're doing like deep research or we want it to go and have a look at multiple websites, stuff like that. Below that, we have Opus Claude. Yours might say Solus Claude and then GPT. A lot of people don't know this, but the back end of Copilot, part of its structure is actually GPT, which is Chat GPT. So it uses the same technology that Chat GPT does in its back end, and then Copilot, Microsoft has created extra features within Copilot as well. But recently, the people that own ChatGPT also made a significant investment in a company called Claude. Thumbs up if anyone's heard of Claude before. If you haven't, it's just an AI platform. It's probably the buzzword right now, Claude. And the great news is because ChatGPT or the owners of ChatGPT invested into Claude, within about 2 weeks of that investment, we now see Claude as one of the search functionalities that we have within Copilot. So what that means is you can either use Copilot to ask a question in here, or you can specifically use Claude, or you can specifically use GPT to ask questions. So in training, sometimes people ask like a prompt in here, and then they might come up to auto and change it to Claude and ask the same prompt just to see the difference between the two. So by all means, you can have a go at that as well. Okay, so then what we've got here on the left-hand side is this little plus sign, and this is where we can add organizational data. So if we click on that plus sign, there's a few options. We can add work content, which will reference a OneDrive or a SharePoint file. Why would I do this? Let's say, for instance, I had 2 Word documents and I wanted to combine them together. I could then go and attach the Word documents here, and then I could put a prompt in here and say, combine the 2 documents together. That's one example. If I had a document I wanted to summarize, I could attach it here and ask Copilot to summarize the document for me. There's lots of other examples that I'll show you, that I'll explain as we go on. Upload will let us upload a file that might be on our computer, or we can upload files from SharePoint and OneDrive from here as well. This new feature, love it. It's called Take a Screenshot. A lot of people don't know this, but you can put an image straight into here for Copilot. And one of my favorite things to do is, because I have to rewrite a lot of text, I will go to somewhere that has the text and I will do a little take a screenshot, and I'll use this freeform snip, and I'll snip out whatever it is that I want to take a screenshot of, and then it'll load it straight in here. And then I could say to Copilot, write out the text in this image, and it will write the text. It will even do handwritten text. So you could upload a file that has handwritten text and then get Copilot to write the text out for you. I think that's really cool. So I'll just click on the X to get rid of that.
Just to add another example to that, there's a lot of people out there that still do write their procedures and whatnot manually, including one of our staff in accounts. And I recently grabbed her handwritten notes and uploaded them into Copilot, and it made them electronic, which saved us a heap of time having to type them back in again. So yeah, massive time saver for those handwritten notes that we all have sitting around our desk.
Mm-hmm. Another example of that as well is an accountant client that I recently trained had someone give them a whole bunch of receipts, and they just dumped them with the receipts basically, and they put them all into Copilot and told them to turn it into an Excel data sheet. And so that saved them like 6 hours of work basically. So yeah, that's an example of how we could use uploading handwritten notes or anything like that, or this freeform snip or capture screen. Another example is you could use that to, if you were trying to learn about a product or you were trying to figure out what something was in, say, like maybe using Xero and you want to find out what that particular function is, you could use that freeform snip, put a prompt into Copilot saying, I'm in Xero, what does this function do? And it would tell you. So I use that a lot when Copilot does updates. I'll take a snip of something in the new app and I'll say, what does this function do? And then Copilot will let me know so that I can stay on top of it all the time. Okay, so I'm going to put in a prompt. I'm just going to leave it on auto, and I'm going to put a prompt in here. Because it's using Work IQ, it's going to work out that it's probably the best way to give me the response to this prompt is just to go ahead and look at the web, because I'm not asking for anything in the organization for this. So when I click on that and I hit enter, then it's going to go ahead and have a think and provide me back with the weather. So I've asked, what's the weather? What will the weather be like on the Gold Coast today? And you can see that we've got a response here. So conditions sunny and clear, the temperature, that's a lie. It was 9%. It was 9 this morning, just in case anyone wanted to know, and it was cold. And then see these little circles here? This is the very, very important when we're looking at any kind of AI. This is the source from where Copilot got the response. So if I click on that, it actually opens up the web page. Or the document, if this was a document inside the organization, and it's showing me this is where it got the information from. I'll just close that web page. And then below that, if you look, there's another circle here that says sources. And if I click on that, it will actually show me all of the sources that it used to give me this information. So I'm pretty confident with it checking all those different sources that this is accurate for the weather today. The reason I point that out is because AI does sometimes make mistakes. They're called hallucinations in the AI world. It's across all the AI platforms, so it is important to check the information that you get back. And you can do that with the sources and obviously with your knowledge and looking at the information it's provided you. With any response, we have this little option to copy the response where we could go and paste it somewhere else. This is just feedback straight back to Microsoft on the response it's given. And then we have these little 3 dots where we can share this response with someone else in our organization. We can edit it in Pages, which is basically it takes the prompt and the response and puts it into a separate section called Loop Pages. We can export it to Word, or we can even read aloud this prompt. And then the last thing here is schedule this prompt. I'll come back to that in a sec. When I was talking about putting a prompt in before as well, like I said, we can reference sources, but we can also use this to dictate. So we could click on that and say what we wanted Copilot to, like it will do speech to text in here, or we can have a little conversation back and forth with Copilot using the new voice chat. So I might say, what's the weather like today? And then Copilot might say, where are you? What location did you want? Kind of thing. So we're having a conversation back and forth. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you one of the features of Copilot that you might not be aware of. Copilot has an internal memory, and you can actually ask it to update its memory. If you ask it to update its memory, like for instance, I prefer my responses in Australian English and metrics, it will update it. And then when it's replying to you with a response, it will use its decision making to decide whether to use this particular memory. With something like I prefer my responses in Australian English and metrics, it should do that with every response. I like to just say update memory at the start, so I know that Copilot really knows that's what I want it to do. But if I removed that, it would still know and it would update it to its memory. So if I send this in by clicking on that little arrow, Copilot will have a think, and then it's told me that I'll continue to default to Australian English and metric units in all my responses. On occasion, depending if it's already in the memory or not, it will have a little circle here that says memory updated as well, which is kind of handy so you can see that it's actually updated the memory. And then if we go into the settings, which are in the top right-hand corner of the screen here, we do have the option here under chat settings, where we can actually go into personalization on the left-hand side. And in personalization, in the saved memories that you can see here, this is where it will show any memories that you have saved. So this is automatically updated from the prompts that you put into Copilot. If I click on the back arrow, the other thing that we can use is custom instructions. Now, custom instructions are a little bit different. This will use this with every single prompt. So you're basically saying when you respond to me, you have to look at this before you respond to me. So this is probably where we would say things like, maybe we would put Australian English in here. Maybe we want to say our role, if we wanted to look at that every time. You can see I prefer responses that are short, concise, friendly, and professional is what I've got in there. So you can type what you want in there, and then you can just click Save Instructions, and that will save for you, and Copilot will look at this with every response. Kind of cool. Hopefully I teached you something that you didn't know there. I'll just close that. So that's the settings. We've talked about the fact that we can go ahead and use this little drop down. This one here, when we hover over a prompt that's been completed, we have the option to edit a prompt. If we click on that, it automatically puts the prompt down into this section here. I find this very helpful if I've written something and then I think, oh, I should have added that or this. You can just use that little hover and click on the edit button. We can copy the prompt and paste it somewhere else. And this one, we can schedule this prompt. So if we click on schedule, it opens up a screen. Now, this might be something that says, check my inbox for the last 24 hours and tell me any urgent emails. And then we might want it to start today, at what time, and we want it to run every day. We can select the days, the time that it runs to, or we can delete that entirely. And then we can say, send me an email when the response is ready and click save. So if we do that, that saves it as a prompt. So you can see here, I've already got one saved, review my recent emails from the last 7 days and identify blah, 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 blah. And once you've got a save prompt, you can click on these 3 dots here and run it right away if you wanted to, edit the schedule, turn it off or delete it. Something very handy. If you do the same thing every morning, go in, check your emails, why not schedule the prompt and have it email you so you can just click on it and see the response. To get into our scheduled prompts, if you want to change them in the future, the 3 dots in the top right-hand corner and then scheduled prompts. Okay, while we're in the settings here, I just want to point out as well, with every request that I'm asking Copilot to do right now, it is also using a web search. So it is going to the web and having a look for information as well as using my organizational data. If I don't want it to search the web, so maybe I'm putting in sensitive or confidential information in this prompt, you can toggle off the web search here in the settings. You can also do this at administration level if you don't want to ever use the web search. You can turn that off entirely. Okay, so I'm going to give you another example now. So I'm going to do a prompt where I'm going to reference multiple files. So in this example, I'm a project manager. I'm working on a project for the Northern Coast Ports, and I need to liaise with a council, and I want to refresh myself on the last communications and information that I had with them before I go and have that meeting. So I'm kind of like refreshing myself here. So I'm going to put a prompt in. The prompt says, I might just start a new chat for this. So I'm going to go over the left-hand side and start a new chat. It's a good idea if you're kind of switching to a different topic or thread that we start a new chat. All your historical chats will be displayed underneath the chat section on the left-hand side in the navigation, and you can access them at any time by clicking on them. This little magnifying glass will let you search for chats as well, just so you're aware. I'm going to go ahead and paste this in. And in this case, for my prompt, I'm going to actually insert a file here. So I'm going to go ahead and / and put in Northern Coast Ports. And then it's also referencing and says emails from Tom Bishop. So it's going to go and have a look at my Outlook and see anywhere that there's an email from someone called Tom Bishop. And then it's going to give me key themes, decisions, action items, risks, and sensitive topics. So I'm going to go ahead and send it in. I'll just go back while that's having a think. The way I referenced that file, I could have clicked on the plus sign and selected add work content, but I actually just used a / and started typing in the words of the file I was looking for. If you don't type in words when you put the / in, you can filter down by any of these here as well. That's a really handy way to attach documents or organizational data. You'll notice when I do that / as well, see how we can attach people, files, meetings, emails, chats, channels, sites, other. So if I was to like toggle onto this, you'll see that it's giving me all the chats that I could potentially select, or all the meetings, or all the people. It's really cool. So we'll just get out of that and I'll just show you here. It's still thinking, and I know it's still thinking because it's got this stop generating option here, which will stop the prompt, but it is giving me information as it's thinking. See how it's got this little source again? Remember how I said that's where it's getting the information from that it's giving us? If I click on that, you can see once I open it, it opens Outlook with that email. So I can go and check it. I think that's really cool as well. So I don't have to go and find that in my inbox. I just click on the on that little circle and it will open it in Outlook for me. I'll just minimize that. So it's finished because that stop sign's gone now, and you can see it's giving me the key decisions, the action items, the key risks, everything that I asked for. It's very long. Copilot likes to do things long, but I'm going to ask it to do something. I'm going to say, make this more concise. And then it's okay if you can't spell because Copilot doesn't hold it against you and it doesn't machine learn bad spelling. Thank goodness for me, seriously. So you can see here that it's got the key themes, the key decisions and the action items, and it's just made it more concise for me. So can you see how that can kind of help if you're in preparation for a meeting, how you can kind of reference previous meetings or documents and things like that to get yourself prepared? Okay, I am going to go ahead and minimize that app now. There's so much more that I could show you in this, but we are tight on time. So I want to make sure that I can show you some other cool things. So I'll just minimize that. I'm going to go and open an Edge browser now. So I'll just open up Microsoft Edge. In here, when you're in Microsoft Edge, we do have the option on the right-hand side here to open up Copilot within Edge. So when you click on that, it opens up a chat section that's very similar to what we were just working with. We have the message Copilot section. In the chats within your apps, you can switch between work and web in here. So work is where we would put sensitive or confidential information, or if we're accessing our organizational data, so emails, chats, Word docs. This is more like what you'd use like in ChatGPT. It's just going to search the web. So in the message Copilot box, we could type in anything. So let's say we had a website open and it had a lot of information in there. We could come in here and go summarize this website as an example. Or we might say we're rewriting our website. We could get Copilot to help us with that. Also, if you have a free version of Copilot, people have told me if you open up like Excel or Word in here, you can use this section here to help you write, like look at the document and give you some information on the document. In the top left-hand corner, we have the app launcher. If you click on that, you can open up Microsoft 365 Copilot within the web. So if you prefer to use a web-based app, you can do that. So this app is the same as what we were using when I had this open. Everyone comfortable with that? Alrighty, let's move on now. So now we're going to go into Outlook. So I'm going to open up Outlook. So there's a couple of different ways we can access Copilot in Outlook. I'll just move this off. I just want to point out to everyone that I'm actually using the new Outlook as well. So it might look a little bit different if you're using the older version of Outlook, but the functionality is all still in there. On the left-hand pane, there is a Copilot icon, and if you click on that, it does open up Copilot like the app that we were just working on, but within Outlook. I don't personally use it like that. I use the app all the time, but I have come across a few organizations that like to have it like that, but in Teams, because they're in Teams a lot. So you can open it from in Outlook. I'll just click on Mail to go back to my Outlook again. In the very right-hand side of the screen, there is a button here that I can click on. If I hover over the button, it tells me summarize this email, summarize and reply to this email, or what are the main takeaways from this email. It'll always give you suggestions, depending if you have an email highlighted or if you don't. And to open Copilot, you just click on the Copilot icon. So anything we do in here, we can then specifically refer to an email or to Outlook. So see here how it's got this summary here. It's actually linked this to the email that I had highlighted. So if you wanted to go ahead and get rid of that reference, you could click here. Daniel, do we need to answer that question, or I think there might be a question in the Q&A.
I've answered the question for Rob in the Q&A, and
Perfect.
Yep, all good.
Thank you. Do you think anyone else would want to know the question and answer?
So let me.
I'll keep going, and then we
Rob,
can come back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rob had some different prompts for his. It was the free version that he's using. So
perfect. Thank you. Yep. So over on the right-hand side, I just clicked on the X to remove reference to that particular email. If I wanted to write a response to that email, then I would have left it in there, or if I was summarizing it or anything like that. Now, with all the apps, there is this option for allow actions, or it might be allow editing. And depending on the version, you might not have this yet as well. And then the default mode. If you don't see that drop down, don't worry. You can still use Copilot the same way. You just put a prompt in there and it will do editing for you anyway. So the thing that I'd like to show you first is how we can use this to summarize my email. So I'm going to put in a prompt that says, summarize the emails I've missed in my inbox the last 7 days. Show me what needs my attention first, and I'm going to send that in. Now, Copilot's been working with me for a long time, so it knows what my priorities are because it's machine learning, right? If it doesn't know your priorities at the start, you could tell it. You could say, look, my priority senders are Daniel, they're Scott, they're Matthew, my clients are XYZ. If it says I need your approval or the word approval in my emails, that's a priority. Like stuff like that is things that you can train Copilot on, and it will filter across all the apps. So whatever you tell Copilot and teach it, like in that machine learning, or just literally just telling it, it will go across all of the apps. So think of it like one Copilot brain that goes across all the apps. Another thing that I get asked often is, do I need to be in Copilot for those scheduled prompts to work that I showed you earlier? The answer is no. Copilot runs in the cloud, so it will still run all your scheduled prompts, even if your computer's turned off, which is really cool. So over on the right-hand side, I've got a response. You can see that I've got this one needs your response, this one's for your information, and then see how with everything, when I go to the bottom, Copilot's actually giving me options. So it always gives you further suggestions. My one says draft a reply to Jess Cornwall. So if I click on that and I send that in, then Copilot will actually go and draft a reply for me, which is, I think, is such a cool feature. You know how sometimes your brain's a bit fried and you go and open your email and you think, I don't know what to write. I know what I want to say, but I don't know how to write it. This is where Copilot can help you. So you can see here, it's got this email, it's drafted it for me. And yeah, that's how easy it is to do that. Now, if I wanted to, I could just say create the draft in here as well, and it would actually create it for me. The other thing that we can do as well is we can, if we reply to an email, there's a little button in here that lets you like open Copilot and respond, or if you just type text in, and this is the thing that I was talking about before, the auto rewrite. So I say, yes, please book in Monday at 1. So just brain dumping, highlight the text, click on this little pen icon that I spoke about earlier and choose auto rewrite, and that will rewrite that email for me in a more professional tone. You can now, so it's rewritten it, but I want it to make it longer. So I can come down here and I could say make it longer, or I can even change the tone to be more casual. There's all sorts of stuff that I can do in there that Copilot will redo for me. This is my training environment, so it's not as good at auto rewriting as my normal Jess Cornwall environment. But you can see here now it's gone ahead and it said it's rewritten it longer, and then now I can replace, insert below, or discard what it's done. When I was first starting to use the auto rewrite, I would use this insert below a lot, and then I would kind of like combine the two of these together, because I like some of it what Copilot wrote and some of it what I wrote, and I just kind of use it like that. All right, I'm going to delete that now. There's so many things I can show you in Outlook, but again, we're time conscious, so we want to just show you a couple of things. The next one I want to show you, because it's just every time I show it in training, people love it. I'm going to start a new chat, and I'm going to put a prompt in again. Remember that starting a new chat starts a new fresh topic. This time I'm going to say, find a time in the next week where Amy Wall, Austin Perrott, and myself are free for a 1-hour meeting. And I'm going to send that in. So Copilot's going to go and they're internal people, by the way. They're going to go and check their internal calendars and come back to me and tell me if there's a time where we can meet in the next week. So it's having a look for a free 1-hour slot. And the reason people love this is obviously there's always someone in the organisation that has to book in multiple people, and you're trying to look at shared calendars, and it can be a bit overwhelming trying to find a time where everyone fits in. So we can use Copilot to go and have a look and see when we have that available time. And then it can even create the calendar appointment for you as well if you wanted to. So we'll let that have a think. Sometimes it takes a bit longer than other times as well. And if you're doing things like, checking multiple calendars, it might take a little bit longer. So we'll just let that run. In the meantime, I'll come back to that in a second, show it to you. So we're going to move into Teams. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up Teams. I'll just minimize Outlook for now. We'll come back to it in a sec. So I've got my Teams open, and where I can access Copilot in Teams is on the left-hand pane. There is a button here for Copilot. If I click on that, it will open like a version of the app within Teams. So you can use it that way. You don't have to. You can just use the app down in the tray, or you can use it in the web like I showed you. If we click on the chat icon, In meeting chats and normal chats, so either one of these two here, we also have the functionality of Copilot to sit within these chats. So if I click on, say, a meeting chat and I go and select it, there's a couple of ways Copilot works. I'm just going to make this full screen. This tab here, the recap tab, if we click on that, this is where we can use the AI summary to see the meeting notes and the action items or the follow-up tasks for that meeting. I would purchase paid Copilot just for this feature. I'm sure Daniel would agree on that as well, or anyone in this meeting that's meeting heavy. So gone are the days of having to take meeting notes. If it's your meeting and you've got transcription turned on, so transcription, for anyone that doesn't know, at the top of your screen when you're in a meeting, there's a button that says more. When you click on it, there's an option that says record and transcribe, and you can start transcription. What that does is it literally writes everything that we're saying, so back and forth, and then Copilot uses that transcription to create meeting notes and also follow-up tasks. There's another function in meeting options when you create a calendar appointment where you can turn on a new feature called Facilitator, which also does live action items and meeting notes while you're in the meeting as well, which is really cool. So what we can do is we can use this copy button here to copy and paste the meeting notes and the follow-up tasks straight into an email if we wanted to, and then send it to anyone that's attended. So remembering this needs to be transcribed and it needs to be your meeting or someone else's meeting in your organization. So yeah, that's the two key things to use this feature. Good idea to always send out your own invites and turn on transcription. I've never had anyone object to transcribing a meeting because I just explained that it means I can send meeting notes at the end, and everybody loves that because nobody has to take notes. Then we could go to a next step and we can click on this little Copilot icon within the meeting. So it's inside this meeting and on the right hand side. And when I click on it, I could just go in here and say, just give me my action items. So I could say, provide my action items, and then send that in, and it will just give me my ones. Or another thing that I do, because I find that sometimes this can be a bit too long for me, is I'll come in here and I'll say, give me concise meeting notes and action items as well. I'll just point out as well, I'll just close Copilot for a second by clicking on this little X. There is a custom summary in here, and you can create a particular template that you want Copilot to use when it's doing its AI summary as well. So you can use it and then you can just go into Copilot and say, use my custom summary. Yeah, so that's Copilot within a meeting, and then in a chat, if you are, the key thing that I use it for in a chat is Amy and I talk all the time. We've probably got a million meeting chats in here. I'm sure you've got someone in your organization that you talk to like that in Teams. If you click on this little Copilot icon, what I use it for mostly is like trying to find something that I spoke to Amy about. So I might say, when is the last time I asked Amy to go to lunch? As an example, just because this is the thing that I ask Amy all the time in our demos. And Copilot will have a look, and then it will show me the actual message between Amy and I. There you go. See that? And look what happens. See this little source? If I click on that, it goes to that message, and now I can write back straight to that message. I don't know if that's handy for you guys, but that's yeah.
And to reiterate, like you said, it doesn't matter if you misspell words.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I should have apologized at the start. I have terrible typing and spelling, not because of Copilot. That's just me. Okay. So yeah, so that's an example of Teams. So if you're using channels as well in Teams, you can actually reference channels straight in the app. So when we use that / in the app, remember we had the channels option. So you could link a channel and then ask questions about the channel in there as well. I'm just going to minimize Teams. I will point out as well, in a live meeting, you do have Copilot where you can click on the Copilot button within a live meeting, as long as it's also your meeting and or someone in your organization and being transcribed. An example of that might be if I've just walked away from my desk to grab a cup of tea, and maybe I'm in a webinar and I've come back and I want to know what happened in the last 5 minutes, I could open Copilot and say, I had to walk away from my desk for 5 minutes, what just happened? And it will give me a recap. All right, so now I'm going to open up Word. I'm going to open up a blank document, and Copilot's in the bottom right-hand corner here, so I'll click on that. On the right-hand side, Copilot will open, and again, depending on your version, you will have allow editing or chat only. So allow editing will edit directly to the document, and chat only will just give you a response on the right-hand side that you could then copy and paste into the document. I pretty much use allow editing all the time in Word. So in this example, I'm going to put a prompt in, and the prompt says create a clear business-focused sales proposal for Northern Coast ports using the attached files. At this point, I would attach the files, remember? Does anyone remember how we attach files? You can put it in the chat if you remember. You get brownie points. We can use the plus sign here to add work content, or we could use the / to add it as well, and then search for a keyword. I've actually just put the document straight in here because Copilot will go and find them. So I've just put the names of the documents. I've asked it to structure it with an executive summary, customer objectives, proposed solutions, phase breakdown, etc., etc. I could have a proposal open, like a template open, and I could say, I use this information from my meeting and add it to the proposal. That's another example, right? So I might have a proposal template that we use, and I've saved it, and I'm saying, go and listen to my meeting that I had and update the proposal with the information from the meeting. And we could just reference the meeting in here. I'm going to send it in. So in this case, I've got no information except using the quote, I've got quite a lot of information actually, the quote, the profile, and the product catalog. And it's going to go ahead and create this for me. Now, because I was in allow editing, you're going to start to see writing appear on this document, and it's going to create the proposal for me. So something that could, normally take hours of work is now just going to take such a little amount of time once it's created the proposal to just go ahead and check what Copilot's given us. So we'll just let that have a think in the background. Once it's created the proposal as well, we do have other functions. So we could always come in here and ask it to refine it. So we could say, I need more detail, or it's too long, or I don't like this particular part of it, and get Copilot to change it. So don't ever forget that you can always come back in here and say, I don't like this or that, and redo it. And once it's finished writing, it will give you a breakdown on the right-hand side if it's using allow editing on what it's done, which is really handy. While it's writing that, I'll show you another feature. So this is a document that I've already had information in, and I can always use Copilot as well in here, and see when we hover, it gives us some examples of things we can do as well, like summarize this document, ask a question about this document, or suggest ways to improve the document. But at the top, we have view more. And because it's got got information in the Word doc, I can click on that, and that provides a summary of this document automatically for me. And I can, if I wanted to, copy this just here and paste it somewhere else as well. Let's just go back to our document that's writing. Like I said, sometimes it's really fast and sometimes it takes a bit longer. It is referencing 3 different files. I have had people say, oh, it takes a little while, but when you think about it, it doesn't really, because like this would take me hours to do something like this. I could go and have a cup of tea or be working on something else right now and come back to it when I'm ready to look at it. And it's writing it. When it's finished, it comes up and says done. And then basically that's the finished step of it creating this document for us.
Probably a good point that you touched on there, Jess. Whilst it is doing things, it is a fantastic time saver to go and do something else. Not only have you saved time by doing the task that the AI agent is doing for you, but it means you can go and do something else. Only this morning, I was getting AI to pull together some email addresses and things out of some of our software, and it took a while to do it, but I completed an entire another task in that meantime, which I normally would have had to probably do later or a different day because I just don't have the time. So it's a great multitasking tool as well.
It really is. I honestly don't know what I'd do without it. It does make me so much more efficient. I think and this might sound silly, but I think it's actually made me smarter as well because I can see how it's writing and I learn things, and then all of a sudden I'm writing things that are a bit more intelligent when I'm putting together information that I want to give Copilot to do as well. So it just gives you a different perspective. And I think another thing that Copilot really does, or AI in general, it can be a really good way to think of things differently. So you might not necessarily go with what it's given you here, but it might give you an idea to think about something else. So it's kind of like a brainstorming exercise with certain things. So here we go. It's created it. We just click done, and then it's provided the information. So many things I'd love to show you in Word again, but we only have so much time. One of the things that I would recommend to try yourself is to highlight some text. It's like just some text like this, and you could just use a prompt that says, turn this into a table, or give this sentence, give this paragraph structure and refine it. And you could have the same text that's displayed in different ways. Okay, so another quick example. So I'm going to go back to my document that I had open before, and I'm going to open up Copilot, and this time I'm going to get it to rewrite this company overview. So this is our company overview. Well, not really, it's a pretend company overview, but it's Harbourview Group. And we want to give this to a client that's tailored to port operations and logistics. So I want to focus in on how we could help the people do this, basically, like a little bit different. So I'll just get rid of this. That was my apologies for that. I'll just remove that. So we're going to ask it to rewrite it. So this is the information we have. We're going to send in the prompt. We'll see Copilot get to work and rewrite this for us. So this saves a lot of time as well because you're not having to think, oh, where do I put information about that client? Or for us in particular, when we're working on projects, on training projects, sometimes people want us to provide them a company overview, but how we've worked with certain software or projects or things like that, or even the industry as well. So we have a company overview. We will use Copilot to say, rewrite this to be focused on this industry, noting these projects that we've worked on, and then it will rewrite it for us rather than having to spend, an hour or however long it's going to take us to rewrite this. Another example, if you do tenders, Copilot is exceptional for tenders. Especially if you spend a little bit of time on a first tender and then you do other tenders, you can just put the question in to Copilot because remember that machine learning, so Copilot's got to the point where it knows everything about our business. I can say, here's the question, and then Copilot will give me the response. We'll review it, tweak it, obviously, if we need to, and then we can put that straight into a tender. See how it's rewritten it for me here? It's focusing on port operations now, which is awesome. Yeah. Okay, so before we go on to Excel, I just want to flip back to Outlook just quickly to show you that prompt that I put in earlier. So remember I said I asked it to find me a time when Amy, Austin and myself were free. So here it's given me the different time slots, and see how next to each one of them it's giving me an option. So I could say, yep, I want Wednesday at 2 o'clock. So I could come in here and say 7 and hit enter. And then Copilot will go and create that calendar appointment for me. So I suggest to give that a try. Just have a little play with, a couple of people in your organization, let them know that they might get a calendar appointment from you, and see how that goes. So that's created that appointment for me. And now all I have to do is just click approve or reject. And if I click approve, it'll create the appointment. That's a quick time saver. Okay, moving on to Excel. Any questions as I'm going through this? Sorry, you go ahead, Daniel.
Just a quick question from one of our attendees. Does Copilot use my computer for any of the processing power, or does it happen in the cloud? If my computer has better AI processing, does this help? Excellent question. We're actually only discussing this yesterday in an internal meeting. Basically, the very short answer of it is for things like Copilot Chat, doing sort of the work that Jess is showing us now. Most of that processing is in the cloud, so Microsoft servers. There'll be some processing as it's uploading and adjusting
organizational
documents.
Data.
Yep. Yeah. Writing the document and whatnot, like Jess was just doing in Word. The real advantages of a device with a dedicated NPU, which is the processing unit for AI, things like so studio effects, background blur, eye contact correction, auto framing in Teams and Zoom, live captions, voice clarities. So that's when the local processing is used. And also if you're running language models on your own computer, that'll help as well. I don't think there'll be anybody here doing that, but yeah, so it can help, but it depends on what you're doing.
Perfect. Thank you. And as I was just about to say, if you have any questions on anything that we're going through, please feel free to put them in the chat. This is your opportunity to ask as many questions as you want. So feel free to ask anything that pops in your head. If you think, oh, can it do this? Can it do that? Maybe someone else is thinking it as well. So feel free to put it into the chat. Okay, Excel, probably one of my favorite functions with Copilot. A couple of reasons. I'm not very good at Excel. And I have always kind of shied away using it very much because of that reason. But Excel can take a very basic user and make them into a decent user. And then also, if you already are good at Excel, which I've trained a lot of people that are good at Excel, this is just such a time saver for them. So I've got a document open here, sorry, a spreadsheet open here with just a little bit of data in it, just to show you a few options. So the first thing is in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, when we hover over the Copilot icon, we do have the option to add a formula, improve formatting, or add data insights. So this changes depending on what you have open and what you have highlighted. It will give you different, like this is like your suggested prompts. If you click on it, it opens Copilot on the right-hand side, and you can just clear off any chat that you have in there by clicking on Start a New Chat. Very important with Excel, you have to, if you're in Allow Editing, anything you ask Copilot to do, it'll still use that work IQ to work out whether it should be updating the document, but most of the time it will edit directly to the worksheet, which is such an amazing feature. But just be aware of it. If you're asking things like, give me some insights on this data, we want to use chat only for that because then it won't affect the data. It'll just come over on the right-hand side and give us some answers. Recently, they've come up with another option, which is plan. So that'll tell you like it's planned before it starts to edit it. So that's kind of like your middle ground. I'm going to use Allow Editing, and I'm going to go and ask, actually, sorry, I believe I'm going to start with chat just to give you an idea. So I'll go into chat only. I'm going to highlight the data that I want it to look at. So I find with Copilot highlighting the data just lets it really know what you're analyzing, or referencing the name of the worksheet if you've got multiple worksheets. So I'm going to say, give me a quick summary of the budget versus actual data, what stands out. So that's why I'm using chat, because I just want it to come over on the right hand side and tell me the information. So the first thing is we can expand this to make it wider as well, so you can read it a bit better. So you can see it's thinking and then it will come back. I can choose to give a quick answer here as well if I wanted to. If I'm impatient, I could go like that and Copilot will answer it quicker. In this case, it didn't like that, so that's fine. Should have just been patient. There you go, learnt my lesson. Um, and so here you go, quick summary, budget versus actuals, overall project is over budget. And then what stands out, materials are biggest issue, regulated, all that. So it's giving me all of this information just by looking at this data. So I don't have to go and analyze it myself. It's told me it. I do need to review it because we always review stuff that Copilot gives us. Then we have the option to add it to a new sheet, this summary that it's given me. I can copy it and paste it somewhere else. And like before, I have suggested prompts over on the right-hand side here that I could like refine with Copilot. I could even say something like, give me 3 executive summaries. So now I could go and give this information to my executive team without having to explain it in, data talk, basically. So in this example, we're going to use allow editing. So I'm going to switch over to allow editing. And I want to show my exec team anything that's over budget. And the easiest way to do this is to use a function called conditional formatting. If you're an Excel person, you'll know what that is. If you're not, basically you can change the visual look of a cell based on some sort of data. So in this example, I'm asking it to change the cell to red if this variance column is negative. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and send that in. Another really good prompt while that's thinking for you guys to try is just ask Copilot, if you have a paid license, ask Copilot in here to suggest conditional formatting. And what it does is it looks at the data and it will come back and tell you all the cool things it can do with like showing you conditional formatting on that data. So you can see here it says done. I've applied conditional formatting to the variance column. See how it's changed the color? How quick was that? How easy was that? Seriously. So that's one of those things that you can use. A couple of other examples for Excel. And again, could sit here forever showing you Excel, but a couple of other things. You can use it to filter data. You can use it to forecast. You can use it for conditional formatting. Maybe I'll just give you a quick show. I think we've got time to quickly show you conditional formatting. So I'll just go suggest conditional formatting. And Copilot will come back and show us some conditional formatting, which is really handy. And what it does is it gives you all the options and it gives you like numbers next to the options that you can select. And because we're in allow editing, it will do it for you. So you can see here, variance column already applied, budget versus actuals comparison, variance highlight. I'm going to do number 3. So I'll put in here 3 and then enter. And we'll see this data change as well. So yeah, think about, taking some data, turning it into a pivot table or a graph, using it for conditional formatting. So you can see here, it's got different arrows and stuff like that. I can click done or undo if I don't like it as well. So yeah, that's just some key things with Excel. Any questions about Excel from anyone? No?
I'll probably add myself how I personally use it.
Yes, please.
We export a lot of data out of our customers 365 tenancies, Cisco Duo tenancies for auditing, and I've saved certain routines, so I can just tell it delete all the columns except the name, the email address, and the license. And then summarize it based on the domain name. Some of our clients do run multiple businesses, so we can filter it on that. We can filter it on the license type that the customer has. So we know that this customer has 43 business premium licenses, for example. Yes, you can do this manually in Excel, but it's a huge time saver because I can just type it in, leave it to go do its thing. And then come back and it's all done for me. So
Yeah, exactly.
It is fantastic. And doing the the formatting stuff. Like Jess said, I'm neither an Excel expert either, but I know it can be done. So I just tell it what I want, and then it will go and do it for me. Certainly saves a huge amount of time reading up on the articles on how to do it yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So the last thing we're going to go through before we move back into the presentation and talk about Copilot agents is PowerPoint. So I'm going to open a blank PowerPoint presentation. Now, most people don't use PowerPoint. I've noticed this in training. However, I show them this function and then people are like, oh, maybe I could use PowerPoint for, presenting to the board, or maybe I could use PowerPoint in this or that. And they've just kind of shied away from it because they just don't really know how to use PowerPoint. So the function I'm showing you now is an example of a project manager who needs to create a project presentation for a client. So first thing to note, you could absolutely open if you have your own themed PowerPoint, you could open it now and then create within that theme. So if you had like a saved company PowerPoint presentation, you would open that and then we would open PowerPoint. In this example, I'm just going to start from a blank presentation. So I'm going to click on Copilot and I'm going to ask it to create a presentation from a file that I have. So my prompt, create a professional 5-slide project presentation for the Northern Coast Port projects. And then I'm going to attach a file. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that /. Remember that / I've spoken about a couple of times? I'm going to type in North for Northern Coast Ports. This is the file that I want. I'm going to select it. And then now I can send it in. I find it's a lot easier to create a presentation from some sort of information that you already have. So I'm going to click send, and what happens is Copilot's going to come back and ask me more questions because I wasn't very detailed in my prompt, and this is again where those prompts really matter. I could have said to it, use our brand guidelines, make it professional, and this is the target audience, stuff like that, right? To be a bit more detailed. But what it's going to do is it's going to have a think, and then it's likely going to come back with a question or two before it actually starts to begin to create the presentation. So it's got one of two questions here. What should 5 slides focus on for the client? Phase by phase overview, full project narrative, or executive summary style? So I want an executive summary style, and then who's presenting? Harbourview Group, the vendor, to North Coast Ports, the client. Yes, correct, and then confirm. So now it's going to go, it might ask me more questions, just so you know, but let's imagine that it's gone and created it. This does take a little bit of time, and by a little bit, 5 to 10 minutes. It's really not that long. It is if you're sitting here looking at it, waiting on it, but I actually created one yesterday with exactly the same prompt to show you what it looks like, so we don't have to wait for it. So this is what it created yesterday, just from that prompt and the document that I gave it. It did come back and ask me what kind of color I wanted to use, and I told it, so I can't remember what I said, dark and stormy probably by the looks of it. But you can see here, look what it's created. It baffles me how great it is. And it baffles me because 6 weeks ago, this was not a very good function that Copilot had. It didn't create very good presentations, and someone must have provided feedback over and over again because now it just creates such a great presentation that you could provide straight to a client. Another thing that I've been using it for is I had already created presentations for my training, and I've actually put it through Copilot and asked it to recreate it for me. So the presentation I'm using today, I fed in my old presentation and got it to redo it for me so that it looked better, more professional. So that's one of the things that you could do as well. You could load in an actual PowerPoint and say, I want you to recreate this for me to look more professional or whatever it be. So yes, so that's what it was, dark navy and teal maritime. That's what I selected as my design. And yeah, so it might just ask a couple more questions and it will go and create it for you. I do encourage you after training, if you have a paid license, to give that a go and see how cool it can come back with. So pick a file and put it in. Okay, so I'm just going to jump back into my presentation. So like I said, any questions, feel free to put them into the chat. We'll have time at the end to go through all of those. So our key takeaways from our Copilot that we just went through, the demonstration. Copilot works in the apps we already use. This is where Copilot excels against other AI platforms. The better the prompts is the better the results, basically. You're still in control. You always review the output. AI can make mistakes, so it is important to review any response and its source, like I showed you in the training. You can always tell Copilot where to look. It can only see what you already have permissions to see. And if I ask Copilot to write a project update, and I ask it generically, it's helpful. But if I point it to a folder or an email, meetings, my real data, it can draft something that's far more accurate, detailed, and specific to us. So that's its real value. It's using your real data to create, better responses. So following that little demonstration on Copilot, if everyone could just spend a quick minute to put into the chat something that you might try after this, or maybe whether it sparked something in your mind where you're like, oh, maybe I could use it for that. Because I think the thing about AI is a lot of us don't communicate a lot about how we're using the different platforms. And if we just spend a bit of time sharing our wealth of knowledge, if you're already using Copilot, putting in some tips there will really help everyone in the training as well. Okay, so we're going to move on to what are Copilot agents now. So we probably spend a lot of time doing repetitive tasks, searching for information or coordinating work, and Copilot already helps us with that. So we can ask a prompt and get a response. So we've just got a question there from Teresa around To Do and Planner. Teresa, there is a new agent that's coming that says that it does work with Planner, but Copilot itself currently does not work with Planner. So you can't like say to Copilot, go and create these tasks in Planner. But the new agent that's in Microsoft has a bunch of agents right now that are in a program called Frontier. And that's kind of like a bunch of different agents that they've created that they haven't released yet. But if you are on that program, you're able to use them. And one of them is called Workflows, and it can link to Planner. I hope that explains a bit better.
What about the Outlook to-do list? Yes.
I don't think so. I haven't actually asked that. Do you want to ask Copilot that question, Daniel, while I keep going with this, and we can come back to that question? Great example. If you don't know something, ask Copilot. And I do that a lot in training because we do get asked all sorts of awesome questions. And then we just open up Copilot and ask Copilot if we're not sure. So what I was saying was, and directly in response to that question, is that Copilot does have the functionality to use things called agents, and they take Copilot a step further by letting you delegate that work instead of managing every step yourself. So they're purpose built for specific jobs. You can set them up once with clear instructions and the right information, and they can then handle repetitive work consistently for you. So as an example, with Daniel's example before, where he takes an Excel document and he does multiple things, we could create an agent for that, and we could have all of those steps already set in the agent, and when he uploads the document, he could just click the prompt that says, clean my data or whatever it is, or, update the data. And then Copilot, all the stuff that you've programmed it to do is in the back end, and it goes and then gives it to you. So that's the difference between an agent and Copilot. Copilot is ask and get a response, ask and get a response. An agent is already pre-built with clear instructions in it, and it will give you the same response or the same, it knows the context of what you're asking. So it's a couple of different types of agents. So we have Microsoft pre-built agents, and they offer ready-to-use functionality with minimal setup. So it uses pre-configured templates for common business use, and they can easily be customized as well. So you don't have to start from scratch, basically. So here's a few I'd like to point out. We've got surveys. This can automate survey creation, distribution, and analysis for fast feedback. We have researcher. This analyzes your data and the web to deliver expert insights and informed recommendations. We're going to show you a researcher demonstration in this in a short moment. Analysis. This performs advanced data analysis across files to uncover trends and insights. And then we have the prompt coach. This helps write clearer prompts for a more effective way to basically, it trains you on how to prompt, basically. It's really handy. And then we have the idea coach. This is used for brainstorming and helps organize and develop ideas. These are all available in your Microsoft, available in Copilot and Microsoft in your Copilot app. You just need to get Daniel and the team to enable them if you can't see them, basically. So just moving on. We also have SharePoint agents. These provide ready-to-use functionality with no setup, connecting directly to your site content. These are ready-made agents, so you can chat with them and understand context, ask questions, analyze documents, while still having the opportunity if you want to build your own. Then we have everyday user agents. These are ones that you can create on your own. You don't have to be technical. You can just tell it what you want it to do. Like Daniel's example, we could easily create that agent for Daniel by using these everyday agents. If you wanted to go a step further, there are advanced agents. These are highly customizable and designed for more complex scenarios using rules, templates, and advanced controls. You could do things like link to your CRM. It has a thing called an API connection. If anyone doesn't know what that means, it's the way that different programs communicate together. Think of it like it's like an interpreter between the two of them and how they share data. So we could link to, say, an accounting software or something like that. We also have our pre-built agents. So the one that we're going to focus on today is researcher. Like I said, this gives you expert level insights on demand. It analyzes your work content and the web to deliver clear, actionable recommendations. I pre-recorded a demonstration to save time today, as the agents do take a little bit longer to process than a standard Copilot prompt. So I'm just going to start that recording now, and you'll hear me talk. It was a pre-recorded one though, so my mouth will not move. I'll put that on now.
Here you can see I have Copilot open, and on the left hand side within my navigation you can see that I have the agent section here, and underneath the agents I have the different agents that my administrator has deployed to my user. I can also come down into the all agents section and search and open and even add agents into this section as well, as long as I have permissions to do so. We'll come back to that later. To use an agent, you can either select them from the agents list here, or alternatively, you can come into the Message Copilot section. You may have a Tools button here that you can select. In my case, I have this little plus sign, and when I click on it, I have the option to then access and select any of these agents. I'm going to select the Researcher agent. You can see once I've selected the researcher, I now have this little icon indicating that I'm using the researcher agent. I then have the option to select the sources that I will use for my research. When I click on sources, you'll see that it'll open up and give me little toggle buttons that I can turn on and off. If I toggle this off, this will choose to stop searching the internet or the web when doing my research. This will turn off access to my Microsoft 365 apps. And if I click on this little arrow, you can see that I also have the option to specifically turn off individual things like chat, email, meetings, SharePoint. I can even then specify the different sites and folders that it uses within SharePoint for this research. I can come here and choose specific agents I'd like to use, or toggle them off, and I can also toggle on off whether I'm going to be using Power BI. For this particular example, I'm going to actually toggle off everything except the web. I'm going to click back into the section here, I just want to point out as well, at any time I could also add additional sources in to help me with this research. I can click on this little plus sign here and I can choose to add work content, which will allow me to access SharePoint and OneDrive files. I can upload images and files which are external files, or I can even attach OneDrive files from here. The other option that I have is to use the /, and then I could type in the name of the document, or the people, or the files, or the messages, or the emails that I wanted to search for, and then add when I'm looking at this research. I'm going to remove that / now. So just to recap, I'm doing the researcher agent, I've selected my sources, and now I'm going to come in and put the prompt in that I'd like to use for this research. Before I do that, I'll explain. In this example that I'm about to do, I'm a finance company, and I want to ensure that I have the correct insurance and to compare the providers on the market for said insurances. In case you're wondering, I asked Copilot the best way to request the prompt to get the best results from my research. Let's go ahead and paste that prompt in. So you can see here I've given it information that I am a business owner that's looking for business research. I'm in the finance industry, and I wanted to see insurances that are legally required in Australia. I'm giving it some guidelines, and I've asked it to present the results in a table that show the insurance type, what it covers, whether it's mandatory, the types of businesses that typically need it, and example Australian providers. I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to come here and I'm going to click on the send button to start the researcher agent. So for demonstration's sake, we've sped up the response of the researcher because it does take a while to supply a response. And as we scroll down, you see that Copilot, the researcher agent, has given me the information that I asked for. It's put it into a table like I've asked, and as we scroll down, we can see the information on this table. Further down, we do have the option then to, right at the bottom of that tab, scroll to the right if we want to look at further information on the right-hand side. Key points to remember, and at the very bottom, here's the sources. Now, I'll just point out with each individual section, we do have a little option here to click on that to open up the source that the Copilot agent has gone to give us this information. And you can see down the bottom, I can click on the sources button here, and that will actually show me all of the citations that it's used to give me this information or give me this response. I can close that just by clicking on the X. So now I want to get a little bit more information from Copilot, so I could obviously use any of the suggestions that Copilot's put here. In this case, I'm actually going to put in another prompt. I'm going to ask it to summarize key insurances types for finance SMEs in a short paragraph, and I'm going to send that in by clicking on the send button. And there you go, Copilot has gone and given me my response in a paragraph like I asked for. And now I can even go and drill down even further because I want to have a look at this in a visual summary chart. Makes it much easier for me to see exactly which provider I want to go with. So I'm going to put in a prompt that asks specifically for that. Please also create a visual summary chart comparing the different providers. And if I go ahead and click on the send button, you'll see that Copilot will come back with a response. As you can see here, Copilot's done exactly what I asked it to, which is great. Now I can have a look at the response that this researcher agent has provided and decide which provider I'd like to go with. Now that I've seen the results of my research when it comes to insurance, I also want to make sure that I'm covered across all the different types of claims that can happen. So I'm going to ask Copilot to generate a bar chart showing common causes of insurance claims for Australian financial services firms. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send that prompt in. There's my bar chart that I've asked Copilot to create, which is great. And obviously at any time I can continue to drill down with the suggested responses from Copilot, and I can view the sources at any time by clicking on this. Or as I mentioned on each individual sentence, you can see the circle here and you'll know that these are each individual source that Copilot has used to give me this information.
Now that you've had a look at researcher, let me know if this sparked any ideas. You can drop a thumbs up, if you can think of a task that you could use it for, or feel free to put something into the chat if it made you think of anything that you might be researching that our researcher could help you with. Okay, so very quickly, I know we're almost out of time. We've gone through a demonstration today of Copilot. We do have tailored courses across Copilot, whereas a 4-week program or a 2-hour session. We can even do bespoke Copilot training for organizations for specific roles or functions. And we do have a Copilot Agents course as well. Keep your eye out for that, because Daniel will be having a demonstration on Copilot Agents where we delve in even more to that as well. The Evolve team will be putting that on, so feel free to sign up for that one. Microsoft also does have some resources. I'll just skip past that, sorry everyone. Microsoft also does have some resources. We'll give you a sheet for this that you can go ahead and have a look at as well, if you wanted to go further into training. And I'll pass over to Daniel now to tell you about the special offer.
Thank you. So for those people that have still stuck around to the end here, first of all, thank you very much for attending. I hope that you've got at least one thing out of this webinar. For a special offer for this month only, we are offering one free Copilot license for a whole year when you purchase at least 2 paid licenses. So that applies to either Copilot 365 or Copilot Business. It depends on what you've got at the moment. So if you do want to claim on that, just send a ticket through to Help Desk, and I will action that for you. They'll assign the ticket to myself, and this offer is available for 7 days following this webinar. So by all means, if you want to give it a whirl, or if you've got a few people in your business, this might be a way to buy 2, get 1 free.
Thank you everyone for your time. We really appreciate it. You will also get an email from Daniel with a QR code for a survey. Did you want to maybe explain that, Daniel?
We will be sending out some post-webinar emails, so there will be the information of the links in that email, as well as a QR code. So if we would appreciate the survey responses, so we can help make future webinars even better for you.
Thank you everyone for your time, and thanks for all the, if you have any questions and you wanted to stay on, feel free to pop them into the chat now. Just have a quick look to see if there's any in there. I think everyone's just saying thank you very much, which is lovely. Yes, Melanie, your question, does it work with Power? Oh, you've already answered. You're on to it, Daniel. Amazing. Yeah, perfect.
And yes, we'll put those links for all the different websites and training and all sorts of things in the emails as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Really appreciate it. I know everyone's busy, and I hope that you got some value out of it today. And hopefully we'll see you again for the Agents one.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending.
Thank you, everyone. Feel free to drop off now if you like.